probably March 14th or 15th.
All Board of Education order, please. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to all. Start off with approval of agenda, please.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda with the following amendment. Number 1, additional certified and classified personnel actions for consideration, item number E3.
Seconds. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? You. Public comment. Mr. Chad Knight would like to speak. You must say he's playing to the top audience. He brought a gorilla.
Yeah, I brought my wife, Gorilla. Come on up, buddy. My son's going to help him too. But in the last week of November, we did a thank you campaign, and you know, the commercial V8. In December, it dawned on me I didn't come thank the USD-457. So I called Joe. I know I found out when the meetings were. I think it was Steven or whatever. I was going to do it in January. Well, I think I was officiating basketball over at Horace Good on those days. I was going to come the first one in February. I called Joanne. I said, I'll be there about 6:15. I won't cause me fouls. I'll try to do this. She said, well, just come the next one. So here we are now. So, but as far as thank you campaign, what we did, we had our griller go around, go ahead and hand the bananas out and get them a banana. But we're going bananas about you guys. So we're thanking you for our support. We bought our YMCA griller, and we're giving you a banana. Camden, he's supposed to hand them out. Come on, the griller. So I think there's 7 bananas, and I'll give one to KJ. And I would give it to Stephen, but Stephen missed a meeting today, so I'm going to give it to Dennis. So, but no, we just appreciate you guys' support. We appreciate what you guys do for us for the YMCA. You guys are a great partner in everything we do, facility-wise, after school. I can go on and on and on. Transportation, there's many things you guys do for us. Without your help, we wouldn't be able to do what we do for the community. So we really appreciate your support. Sorry I was late. You didn't get with everybody else, but better late than never. But thank you, so we appreciate it. Any questions for me?
Any questions for Chad?
Well, back at you. Thank you for what you do for the community. It's a great place for kids and families to go and burn calories, spend great time, and good opportunities for the whole community. So thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dave.
We'll see you.
Well, we have a lot of recognition tonight. I think it's hugely ironic that it's all music. The president of the school board is forbidden from even singing in the showers. Please, Rick.
Well, we have Ryan Elliott here this evening, and he's going to recognize Kayla Drew.
Good evening, I'm Ryan Elliott. I teach the 5th and 6th grade band here. I'm also on the executive committee, and I'm the treasurer for the Kansas Junior John Philip Sousa Band. The John Philip Sousa Band is a worldwide, or the state one is a state organization, but goes all the way through national, and the John Philip Sousa Foundation is a worldwide foundation that promotes the ideals that John Philip Sousa started when he was director of the Marine Band, and then when he was in civilian life touring in the early 1900s. But the Kansas John Philip Sousa Band is a great organization. It's been going on for 12 years now, and we had a special recognition this past January at our clinic and our convention that we held at KU, which we do every year. Caleb Brood, this is his 4th year participating in the Kansas John Philip Sousa Honor Band, so he made it all 4 years, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade. It is a junior honor band. It's recognized by Keisha as the junior honor band for Kansas. We don't have one at KMEA, which we have next week, middle level band, but this one considered that. So very proud of Caleb making all 4 years. He was the only student this year in the entire state that had made it all 4 years, so it was especially nice to be able to recognize him. I presented him with a plaque that afternoon at the performance, and got to shake his hand, and I don't know, did Jim Swearingen shake your hand as well? Yeah, he did. So he got to work with a great clinician this year. Dr. Jim Swearingen is directs the bands at Capital University in Ohio, and he does all the arrangements for the Ohio State Marching Band. And he's a very, very well-known music clinician, composer. He conducted the band that Caleb was in this year, and it was really just an outstanding event, and I'm so happy that he got to participate and that we were all there, and he got interviewed by the Kansas City News. I think KC5 news team interviewed him, and clips here, so it was a lot of fun. Have anything to add or say?
It was just a good experience, and it was a lot of fun.
So, yeah, so I was just really proud to have somebody from Garden City be on 4 years. We've recognized people for 4-year participation every year, and they're usually, Kansas City, Olathe, all Wichita areas. So to have somebody, Garden City out west, some people don't even know where Garden City was. So it was nice to have that and have Caleb recognized.
How many times did you have to explain where Garden City is?
A lot.
You made it, was it the red band twice and the blue band twice? Is that what it was?
Red band once.
Red band once. So in 6th grade, there's 2 bands, there's a red band and a blue band. We take 105 students in each band. There's approximately 500 students every year that try out. They audition by CD. They mail it to Olathe, and then we judge the CDs and pick the best students on their instrument. So Caleb made which is usually the younger band, the red band one time, and then he made the blue band, which is more for older kids in 7th grade to 8th grade. And this year, freshman.
Any questions for Caleb?
Caleb, would you, behind every great person, you've got some support behind you, and you've got some support here with you this evening.
Oh,
Would
yeah.
you mind to introduce your parents, and I believe maybe your grandparents?
My mom has been really, really big, making me practice like every day. And then my grandma and my grandpa are always helping me and coming and watching me. And then, Melanie, and then Leah Martinick and Mel Martinick. And then
Of course.
Just Dad.
What instrument do you play?
trumpet.
And that's hard too, because trumpet is, it's a pretty popular instrument, so it's very difficult to make it on a trumpet, and for him to make it in 6th grade on a trumpet, and then every other year was just really, really outstanding.
Mr. Chairman, is it appropriate to show that minute 40-second
Yeah,
clip?
it's keyed up, so with your indulgence, Caleb, we'll show your video.
But they all share one thing in common. They've been selected as the finest musicians in the state. It's called the John Philip Sousa Band. Around 500 kids auditioned, but only 102 made it.
These are young people who are the best of their class. They're the very best in the state.
After months of individual practice, the band comes together for one weekend.
Just to be with all these other really talented musicians.
I didn't know that everyone would be this good. It is a very high caliber that everyone else was playing at.
I didn't really understand how great this band was until we were all together.
This should be the best performance you've ever given. Today should be the best we ever played. These youngsters are driven by their passion for music.
Music really means a lot to me. It's really like my life.
You get loud, angry music, and you get soft, beautiful music, and it just puts a whole different look on life.
Ever since I started playing the tuba, it's pretty much been my way of expressing myself.
They are the state's top musicians, and they sound like it. In Lawrence, Jonathan Carter, KCTV5 News.
Caleb, I know this might be premature, but this passion, is this something that you want to pursue as a profession or more as a hobby?
kind of a hobby, maybe, if I could, actually, awesome. Yeah, playing the case.
Awesome. Good plug.
I won't ask Cannon something, I'm
They played Les Mis this year,
Yeah.
which was a pretty impressive piece to play, so, good.
Anything else for Caleb? Congratulations, awesome job. Very impressive.
You know, if I could, I'd just add too, that when kids try out for bands like that, there's so much support needed in the background by the teachers and the support staff of this district. I think they deserve a hand too. Good job. Thank you.
We're everywhere. Baseball bats come out, we're everywhere.
The next two recognitions were done by Lyle Silva, music director at Garden City High School, and graduates. They're recognized Maggie Unruh.
My name's Lyle Silva. I'm director of bands at Garden City High School. I'm here to recognize Maggie Unruh this evening. Maggie's a junior for us at the high school. And earlier in January, we went to instrumental live audition date in Salina. Maggie was one of roughly 1,100 students who auditioned for placement within the 5-6A All-State Band, and Maggie was recognized as the third bassoon for the 5-6A All-State Honor Band this year, which is a very large, very big achievement. This will be her second time performing with all-state groups, and we just wanted to come and recognize her as well this evening before we go and perform here at the end of the month. Concert will actually be on March 1st, and she's going to play for Paula Kreider, who is the director of bands emeritus from the University of Texas at Austin. So I'm really excited for Maggie and her opportunity to go and perform with Ms. Paula Kreider. So please, if we could recognize Maggie as well, it'd be phenomenal.
Because I just said I can't sing in the shower, what is a bassoon?
It's, I don't know, about 4 feet tall, and it's played on a double reed, so like,
Okay.
yeah, two reeds stuck together, and it's a lower instrument, and we usually get coupled with like the tubas and trombones in that area.
Maggie, you also have some support here this evening with your dad. Is he
Yeah,
here?
this is my dad, Troy Unruh.
Any other questions for me?
It sounds kind of like a cow when they started. It's come a very long way.
When you speak of support, often the support comes from the parents and not going in and wanting to know what's wrong when the student first starts playing bassoon. But to be honest, Maggie's a phenomenal bassoonist, and we're lucky to have her within our district. And every time I talk with colleagues from the eastern side of the state, they constantly want to ask about Maggie and how it is that Maggie learned how to play as well, because they're in Kansas City with people who are studying privately every week who struggle to make sounds like Maggie is capable of making. So it's a phenomenal credit to her own talent to how she plays, and we're very lucky to have her in this district.
Dr. Hopkins asked, are you planning on studying in college?
I'm thinking of like either doing a double major or a minor in music, so I get to keep playing.
Good.
Yeah.
You can't march with a bassoon, can you? Is it big to march with, or can you?
Oh, yeah, there's no way I would ever.
Maggie actually was one of our assistant section leaders for the saxophone section this last fall. She also plays tenor sax in Jazz 1, as well as her active schedule. She keeps a debate forensics with acting with choirs, but she spends a lot of time in our music wing in the high school.
Great. Congratulations. Please come.
Thank you so much.
we have Barb Child, the principal at Bernadine Six, and Karen Merrill, assistant principal at Bernadine Six. And we're going to recognize one of our teachers, music teachers.
It's like acting all shy.
Yeah, we know better.
There, I was gonna say, there's not a shy bone in his body, so, yeah. This is Tom Rischel, and he does early morning choir for us at Bernadine Sits and does our keyboarding during the day. And he does afternoon choir at Charleston, so he has a full day. He starts early in the morning and ends late at night doing music all day long. So he was presented the Outstanding Elementary Educator Award by the Southwest Kansas Music Educators Association at the Elementary Mini Convention in Dodge City. He earned this award for his dedication to teaching the art of music, as well as his outstanding ability to develop positive relationships with his students, parents, and staff of the schools in which he teaches. He was a finalist for the Outstanding Music Educator Award for the whole state of Kansas. 4 of his students have qualified to sing at the Kansas Music Educators Association and performance in Wichita later this month. He's also helping plan with fellow music people the March Music Festival here in Garden City, and we appreciate his dedication to all of our students.
Thank you.
So,
I have to say that this would never have happened if I didn't have the most incredible kids and the most incredible staff, really, to work with and to work for. It's really an honor, and I love what I do. And they say, well, when are you going to get ready to retire? And I don't see that time because I'm having too much fun. And like she had said earlier, that another Unruh, and I was hoping that he would stay, but his son is also going, there's an Orlano, Jared Orlano, and Unruh, and then I have 2 over from CSIC that are going with me too. And I'm incredibly proud of those kids. And he had said earlier, nobody knows where Garden City is. It's always Eastern Kansas that gets chosen for these. And I sent in CDs with these, about 68 CDs that you had to tape them and send in. And then I had 2 from Bernadine Sits and 2 from Charleston that made it. And it's incredible for these little guys to be able to, and they're so proud of it. And I am so proud of them. And I have the best job in the world. I do. You get before. You know why you saw me, right? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, too.
Blackburn, I think if anybody didn't get you qualified for the shower, it would be Mr. Rischel.
There we go. That one might not make it through the scanner though.
One little comment in reference to the local music department. The local music is not a part of the curriculum during the school day at the 2 intermediate schools. Mr. Rischel gets these kids at one school before the day begins, and those kids volunteer to come and be a part of his program. And then at the end of the day, after school, he takes the other school. So it takes good teaching to get kids to come and be a part of a good program. So Tom, thank you. Such a good motivator.
It's easy when you have what I have for those kids.
Great. Great night. And I will not attempt to sing the rest of the agenda. Could we get a motion on the consent agenda, please?
Mr. President, I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second by
insurance is, such a big hot topic these days. Just in healthcare costs alone, affordable care, healthcare, the Affordable Care Act. When we look at the district's budget, health insurance makes up over 10% of our budget. I mean, that to me is astronomical, coming from the outside and looking in at what we have. We're trying to get out in front of budgets, in front of negotiations, in front of the renewal for next year. So what we're doing is we are presenting to you tonight. We've already presented to the insurance committee the same presentation. And then we're gonna take the show on the road and we're gonna hit every building and try and get as many people informed as we can as to here's where we've been, here's where we are, here's where we think we're going, and what we can maybe do to try and help with the where we're going aspect of what we have with our health insurance. And to present to you tonight, Janet Willis from CBiz is here. We partner with CBiz as a benefit consultant. They help us with analyzing our insurance renewals, making sure that we're in compliance, and just overall making sure that we're doing all the right things that we need to do, not only from a federal mandate standpoint, but from a legal aspect of making sure that we're not gonna get ourselves in trouble. So, Janet, you've been about 8 years now with the district?
With the district, yes.
Okay, so she's got a wonderful presentation put together for you. And I know you guys had it in advance, so she's available to answer any questions, and anything we can't answer, we'll get back to you. Thanks. I'll let Janet do it.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Tough to follow a gorilla and several musicians. It's insurance and healthcare, so try to make it as interesting for you as possible. I know that you've had an opportunity to review the presentation, so I won't dwell on it. I'll kind of click through and take any questions that you might have. The presentation that we're looking at tonight is what we just reviewed with the insurance committee, and then you had a supplemental piece also to review, and I'll take any questions you have about that. Can you do it? Yeah. Okay. So on our agenda, just to look a little bit at a review of what happened this renewal. The plan renews January 1st, 2014. What were the factors that went into considering that renewal financially? What's different for 2014? And what are some Affordable Care Act considerations that we had to include in the renewal? Some suggestions or planning points to give you some ideas about what the committee will be looking at in terms of different ways to perhaps reduce plan costs for 2015. And when I was here in October, met with the insurance committee, we talked a little bit about the renewal, we talked a little bit about Affordable Care Act, we talked about some plan alternatives that we were able to look at that we had requested from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas. It created some concern amongst the committee members about the impact on employees some of those changes we looked at might have. And outside of that room, part of their role is to solicit feedback and talk to others at the buildings and their peers. And so they got the rumor mill going a little bit about what we talked about in October and about what could occur in 2015. So the request was to put together some information that would address those concerns and provide a forum for KJ and Melinda Rowland to solicit questions, educate the people, talk about the realities, and try to ease their concerns so that we get ahead of that as best we can. So for 2014, for the renewal, the maximum claim liability, you have a self-funded contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas, and so the components of that, and I'm going to talk about the components of self-funding for those of you who are not really intimately familiar with that. But the components are a maximum claim liability that would limit how much the district would have to pay in a given year overall for the claims activity of the group. That increased, that liability for the district increased 6% for 2014. That doesn't necessarily mean what you pay, it means what you are responsible for financially during the plan year. That amount increased 6%. We'll look at actual costs on another slide. That equates to almost $500,000 in extra risk taken on by the district for 2014. Fixed costs, you pay fixed costs for the insurance component. You have that aggregate protection that protects overall claims. You also have specific protection that insures the district against any claim that would go in excess of $250,000. You pay a premium for that specific protection as well, and then you pay an administrative fee for them to pay claims and process claims and issue ID cards and all those things that they do for you. That increase represented about $64,000. And then also in the renewal, and we do this every year, we say, show us what it would cost to continue with the funding arrangement that we have in place now, the self-funded arrangement, but show us what it would look like if we decided not to bear as much risk and we wanted to be fully insured, where Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas would be more on the risk for claims, and we evaluate whether that is a good deal for the district going forward. And we did that again at this renewal and concluded that it wasn't a good deal for us. There were no changes to plan design, with the exception that to comply with the Affordable Care Act, you had like a $5,000 annual maximum on hospice care expenses. And on the list of things that need to be covered under the Affordable Care Act in 2014, we had to remove that limit, so it's unlimited. I don't anticipate that that would represent significant additional liability to the district at all. There are two fees that will come up in 2014 that the district will have to pay for the Affordable Care Act. One of them is just a couple $1,000s. That is for the patient-centered outcomes research fee. You paid that in 2013 as well. It doubles in 2014, but it's just a couple thousand, $2,000 or $3,000. The bigger part is one called the reinsurance fee, and the budgeted item for that is about $63 per member per year, which comes to the balance of that 136. It's about $132,000 or so for the district this year. That's the big one that will be due. It has not been delayed, unfortunately. So total plan costs for 2014, when you consider the liability and the extra fees for the Affordable Care Act, will total almost $700,000.
What is the reinsurance fee?
The reinsurance fee is a pool of money that will be shared amongst the carriers the carriers have been asked who participate in the exchange to insure an unknown risk. They don't know who's coming into the market, the federal marketplace or the exchanges. They've been asked to price a product out there for an unknown risk without really the opportunity to underwrite. So this reinsurance pool, it's not indefinite. It goes on, I think, until 2018, I want to say. But it is a pool of money so that the carriers who are out there, if they illustrate that they had excessive losses, they'll share in that. But it's to help get the exchanges off the ground and to kind of subsidize the unknown risk that the carriers who participate in the exchanges are having to bear.
But that's on the open market, right? The exchange on the open market. So
Yes.
our district is paying our carrier, which is Blue Cross,
Yes.
so that they can participate in the open market.
Well, no, the reinsurance is a fee that the actual employers, plan sponsors have to pay. There is a fee that the insurers have to pay that may trickle down to you, and that's called an excise tax. That is applicable more to the fully insured accounts. That's one that the carriers have to pay that may get passed on to their clients. But this reinsurance fee is a fee that is paid by employers, plan
By
sponsors.
employers, so that the carrier,
Yes,
Blue Cross,
that's
can,
the end result,
be
yes.
on- yeah,
Yes,
and that, wow, that's unfortunate.
yes, that's,
And that's a federal mandate?
that is a feature of the Affordable Care Act, yes.
Okay.
So when we look at the 3-year financial summary, this is not based on your liability with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas. This is based on what the actual costs have been and may be projected to become, based on our analysis. For 2012, your plan year costs were about $8.6 million, and that's for your claim costs, your fixed costs, et cetera. Blue Cross of Kansas. 2013, $9.4 million, which represents an 8.6% increase over the prior year. We're projecting for 2014, it should be about an 8% increase, $10,161,000. These numbers include the Affordable Care Act fees that we're talking about. What they don't include are amounts in excess of your protection that you have with Blue Cross. For example, I said you have a $250,000 deductible on any one claimant's claims. Any excess of that paid by Blue Cross is not included in these numbers because it wasn't your expense. And then projected for 2015, if we just see the kind of increases we've had, it could come up on $11 million in 2015. which would be an 8.2% increase. So that is concerning. I will say, just to put it into some context, when you would talk to any insurance carrier about what their trends or their inflation rate looks like for their book of business, approximately between, I would say between 9 and 12%. A lot of carriers are using like 9.8, 10% trend right now. So what's happening, and that's on the claim component alone, so what's happening in your group is about average, maybe a point or two less than average, but still doesn't mean it's affordable. It's still big dollars for a group the size of the district. This next slide I thought would be interesting because what we always want to look at is how does my district compare to other districts. These are just a sampling of districts that are our clients at CBIZ, variety of different sizes. But we start out with Garden City up top, and your claims for medical and prescription drugs in 2013 were $644.86 per employee per month. Just as a, that's how we track everything, is per employee per month. So that changes in enrollment don't give us any false readings on what's happening inside the group. These are all school districts with the exception of School E, is actually a community college, but and they're various sizes. It's not an apples to apples comparison because you're going to have school districts that have higher deductibles than you have. There are different provider networks at play, and the provider networks, their negotiated discounts will dictate what a claim actually costs. A knee surgery here versus a knee surgery there is based on what kind of contracts the network has in place with those providers. So there's the variables here. But
are they all Kansas or is it a region?
These are Kansas, some Missouri, but eastern Kansas. What we're also working on that will be more important to you, more telling, is a provider comparison of some local districts, Liberal, Dodge, the community college here in Garden City, the city of Garden City. Because we don't work with them, I don't have their claims data, but we are gonna look at is what are their costs? What do they charge an employee for coverage? What do their plan design looks like? And we're still compiling that data, but we'll have that to share very shortly, so that you have a sense of at least what the charges that you're sharing with the employee group, how does that compare to other employers and other districts locally. But all I could draw on for the actual claims information is what we get for on behalf of our clients, and so that's what this is all based on here.
So you're saying that our utilization or our claims, one of the two or both, this is highest of everybody you looked at other than the community college?
Yeah, yeah. And I think honestly that's probably largely a function of the bulk of your population is in a plan with a $500 deductible. And that, by today's standards, that's pretty low. A lot of these other districts will have $1,000 deductibles, $750 anyway, but $1,000 is pretty common. And some, at least one or two of the districts on here, the plan design that they contribute 100% to for single is like your high deductible health plan you have here with a $2,500 deductible, and then it pays 100% after that. And it's not our recommendation that you go from 500 up to that, but just to show you kind of how it stacks up.
So you do see a correlation with how rich a plan is and utilization?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's consumership. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about here, and that's kind of one of the negative drawbacks of having
a really rich plan.
A really rich
People
plan.
don't have to think twice about, having whatever done every year.
Which is partially because we're still grandfathered, which is a great position to be in, and especially when the federal government is changing their mind left and right on what's going on. But
well, and one thing we would really like to do is to have a bigger audience. When we've held some informational meetings about the high deductible health plan, it's a high deductible, it's $2,500, and that's significant. But pays 100% after that. But to get people to understand the advantages of the health savings account, the tax advantages, and the savings tool that is, when we've held informational meetings, the turnout's been pretty slim. It's been after hours, after school, and not everybody wants to come listen to this, but it's unfortunate that we haven't been able to get more people interested in that, because that certainly would help. And we'll talk as we go through some of the ideas that we have about addressing that. Just in the way of maybe a little background on self-funding, why this district is self-funded, how it compares to the option of being fully insured, just to kind of give you a little information and to share with the folks when we go on the road tour. The district pays Blue Cross of Kansas a percentage of what the actual claims are. 4.4% of claims goes to them for administering the plan. And it's important definitely for the employee group, but for everyone to know that Blue Cross pays the claims regardless of what your funding mechanism is. It's not like they call the district and say, hey, we would exclude this claim, what do you think? They have the contractual responsibility for determining what a claim is. Sometimes in the employee population, we find that they think if it's a self-funded plan, that the employer has a say in what claims get paid or what claims get denied, and that absolutely is not the case. Blue Cross pays claims as though it's fully insured or self-funded. Their claims payers don't know the difference. Again, you purchase risk protection for any one individual claim over $250,000, and then aggregate claims that exceed at the onset of the year. They project what is going to be the expected claim level based on your history and what they know about large claims working in the group, and they expect your claims to be at a given level. Your maximum liability is a 20% corridor on top of that expected, and you've got protection to insure you against that. And this next one is probably the one of the top reasons any employer would consider self-funding, and that is you get to hold the reserves. The district holds the reserves for claims that are incurred at the end of the contract relationship with Blue Cross. So had you terminated December 31st, 2013, for example, there would still be claims incurred in 2013 that they would administer and pay out. You would have to pay that runoff or run out reserve, and you get to hold that, and that gives you some cash flow advantages in the early months of self-funding, because you're not having to pay a fully insured premium over to the carrier when claims are not really coming in very fast at the beginning of the contract. The offset is that you get to hold those reserves for someday when you ultimately might switch funding arrangements. In a self-funded arrangement, your state premium taxes are eliminated. They're about 2% or so of a fully insured premium, and that's another big incentive for folks to consider a self-funded plan because it eliminates that state tax. Now with the Affordable Care Act, there are additional taxes that you forego in a self-funded arrangement, and that is that excise tax that is based on the carrier's market share in the area. They pay 2 to 3% of their premium, and you're not having to pay that because of your self-funded arrangement, so we find that attractive as well. And then another point that we really want the employees to understand is that when there is a savings on the claims because it's a healthier population and you haven't had to pay, it's not a fully insured arrangement where you just send money over to the carrier during the year regardless of what the claim level is, you actually save that money and you don't have to pay it out. That leaves you more money then for other compensation aspects that be faced with. So, if anybody has questions about self-funding, otherwise I'll keep going here. Planning points, these are not necessarily recommendations, but they're just some thoughts that we put together, what we see other districts, other employers doing. I wouldn't say that some of them are kind of a stretch for where you are in the district to implement, but things that we mentioned to the insurance committee. One thing, because that $500 deductible plan is very rich. Oh, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, but before you get too far down the road, if I remember your earlier slides, when you say that one advantage of self-insurance is that you hold on to the cash that wasn't needed to pay out to claims. In the earlier projections of our costs as a district, how does that factor into the ability to hold on to the cash? I mean, we don't know because we don't know how healthy or how many claims will ultimately be submitted. If less are submitted than projected, then our costs, the cost projections there will be less.
That's true. If claims are lower, the projections that I made will be reduced. I was basing them on your current plan designs and on your historical claim costs. Okay. But yes, if you were to do something like raise your deductible or not incur the claims because of a healthier population, then that would represent savings to you. Mm-hmm. Yep. So some ideas. One thing we talked about was potentially eliminating the $500 deductible plan and having the $1,000 deductible plan. One thing that some people have been asking about over the years is why can't they have an office visit copay? So we talked about maybe eliminating the $500 deductible option, leaving the $1,000 that you have currently, but making it a little bit more palatable by putting an office visit copay. That was one of the ideas we talked about. The other was having both the $500 and the $1,000 deductible plan you have now, but targeting the district's contribution at the $1,000 deductible plan. And then people who wanted the 500 felt like it was worth it, they could have a payroll deduction to buy up to that. That's an alternative still. And then in both of these scenarios, keep your high deductible health plan as you have the other option. And continue to educate people on that plan, as I said, to make them more familiar with how that can work for you. Some employers have moved to this. I think it's a little bit of a stretch for soon implementation at the district, but you do hear of employers, and Melinda was mentioning she's aware of an employer in town that says if your spouse is eligible for coverage through their own employer, they can still be on our plan, but it's gonna cost a little more. Just put a little bit of a surcharge so that you're not insuring other employers' risks, basically, if they're waiving coverage where they are eligible. Or maybe some families just naturally double insure, but just to make them think twice about that. We've heard in the news, of course, of some employers who just said if your spouse is eligible elsewhere, they are not eligible here. So this is just a little bit more palatable than that approach. We are going to solicit competitive bids over the summer months so that we haven't done that in a few years, and we can compare how other carriers would, of their underwriters would view the risk, and just see what the networks look like, what the costs look like, if there's any incentives. I know how much this district has enjoyed the relationship with Blue Cross, and the mission wouldn't necessarily be to move the coverage, but to let Blue Cross see what we're considering. For example, when we asked for plan design alternatives for this past renewal, just to consider maybe a little bit higher out-of-pocket maximum, if you lose grandfathered status, this is what Blue Cross was telling us, if you lose grandfathered status, what they do to your out-of-pocket maximums is they raise them to the highest allowable by law under the Affordable Care Act. And we were saying, whoa, because that's a huge difference from where you are right now. Your out-of-pocket maximum is maybe $1,000 under the $500 deductible plan, and and the highest it can be by law is $6,350, something like that. And that was the only alternative they were making available to us. And we're like, wait, what if we just made it $500 higher or $1,000 higher? You know, recognizing that maybe we'd have to pay more for that option. They're like, no, it's gonna go up to $6,300 if you lose grandfathered status. It's that kind of thing that we wanna see how will other carriers answer that question, and maybe that will get Blue Cross to reconsider some of the answers along those lines that they've given us. So we wanna get competitive bids and just see if, if it's grass is greener elsewhere, or if we really do have a good deal for a network and et cetera. So that will be due in the summer months. You get your renewal from Blue Cross in August, and we want to be able to compare to that.
How often do you shop plans with different carriers? You said it's been a couple of years, but is that what CBIZ normally does, every 2 years or every 3 years? Or
well, honestly, I've worked mostly with public entity school districts, and they have requirements. A lot of the districts will say they have to bid every 3 to 5 years, like that. They'll have some stated policy that the board has about bidding for coverage, and I don't think that's been the case here now. But so most districts will, like on a 3-year cycle, just do it.
Well, it's good business to be competitive, to get out there and get other carriers potentially to earn your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been with Blue Cross how long?
Way predates me. I want to say
have you been part of?
I've been working with the district 8 to 10 years or so.
Have you been part of shopping?
Yes, we shopped it. There's a couple issues at play. We did shop it, I think, twice in the time. We shopped it initially when we were hired.